Hey, Jerry.
Welcome, Jim.
Hello. Got
Hello,
me?
Jim.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Good.
yeah.
Good. This is my first time on the new internet. And
Jim, you're all black. You look like when they're doing one of those documentaries where the person needs to stay anonymous.
now, well, is that if I open the shade a little bit, it'll be really glary. I looked at that earlier.
Oh dear. Yeah. Well, I'm a little glary in the back. These are my baby chicks in the playpen here, so they might get a little loud later on. We'll see.
Oh, do you really have baby chicks there?
Yeah, we're trying to get the dog comfortable with them instead of chasing them, you know.
I hope they survive it.
Me too.
I don't know if I'd be too hopeful.
No, I'm still backlit.
Oh, I'm gonna try. Okay. Well, I'm gonna say it's 6:05. I'm calling this to order. Let's do it. And we've got, I think, everybody but Greg at this point. Hopefully he will join us again. Have you heard from him, Jim?
No, I haven't talked to him for a couple of weeks.
Okay, well, I did. Last I checked, all his emails and everything were working. I did not call him today, but I'm glad you're all here. We will start with just a moment of silence. Just bring ourselves together here and let's do good work. Take care of this ferry, take care of the island. Thank you. We have open session. There you go, Jim. Elizabeth,
Yes,
you
ma'am.
have some comments.
Yeah, I have a request, and I'd like to find out who is in charge of putting together the new weather station that's going to be set up on the ferry terminal dock over here on the Lummi side. I'd like to talk to that person. I have some ideas about what should be included with that. I'm one of the people who've been keeping rainfall and other records like that on the island for a number of years. And I want to see whether or not we can get that data from that weather station into a forum where it can be archived so that in 50 years from now, when some researcher like me comes along and wants to look at the long-term records of temperature, rainfall, wind direction, and things like that, they will have that available to them. All of this data that I've been working with has been passed on to Paul Davis and has been put in the archives. So this is really important as we go forward and as the island changes to keep up on records, particularly the temperature records, because there is very little long-term temperature data for this area. And so I'd like to find out who I should talk to at the county about this. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for all the work you've done all these years keeping those data. How far back do they go?
Well, L. Marshall started keeping rainfall data in 1980. And
Wow.
3 other people started in the 1990s. And 1 more person has been added recently. So we've got 40 years of rainfall data. And a couple of years ago, when we had the program over at the Grange that included folks from the county health and rainwater solutions, I think. I did a little presentation on that data and showed some graphs and things. So this is available, and you know, I can certainly eventually do another talk like that as well.
Great.
So if anybody knows who I should talk to, please tell me.
Hey, Elizabeth, this is Rich Hudson here. Can I hop in here, Rayma, real quick?
Sure, please do.
Hey, Elizabeth, this is Rich Hudson. I am certainly the person you want to speak with. And I heard you loud and clear in the last meeting. And I asked John Mulhern, who is our mate on the ferry, who sort of pioneered the initial first weather station that we have that has since failed us, to find a very robust weather station that'll be capable of doing exactly what you've asked, which he has found. It is a company called Earth Networks. That's Earth, Networks. And they've got a couple of different models of weather stations that are really nice, and I think that would serve us well for a very long time. So, and we're going to get into that. I'll just discuss that a little bit more here in just a little bit, Elizabeth.
Thank you very much.
That's great.
You bet.
I also think that Mike Skian wants to say a few words. Mike? Are you there?
Let me unmute here. Hi,
Ah,
Charles.
there.
I just wanted to promote microgrids and the discussion that will occur at the end of this meeting on the agenda under new business. So I'll bide my time.
Thank you. Anybody else in the open session with comments? Okay, I see none. Let's move on to approval of the minutes. And boy, I have never seen such a fabulous set of minutes. It made us sound like we really rock and rolled last time. So, thank you, Mike. Did you get other comments other than I had just a couple of edits and where do
No,
we
I
stand?
didn't. And I couldn't tell where you edited, so we'll talk about that later. And then I'll revise them.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
And mine were very minor and, one was about the bus terminology.
Well, you can certainly clarify that now.
Okay. Jim, did you have any comments? Were you able to see the draft of the minutes? Uh-oh.
Unmute Jim.
I had to unmute. Yeah, I thought they were pretty nice.
Great, okay. Well,
I move we accept them. Pending the few tweaks that you're going to do after the meeting.
Yeah.
I'll second that. Thank you. Do we have a consensus here?
Oh, go ahead.
Yes.
Thank you.
Wonderful job. Thank you.
Thanks.
Absolutely. The next thing on the agenda is our April meeting date. We're supposed to meet regularly. We would meet on April 14th, Wednesday. But the main agenda item is, operating budget for both 2020 and 2019. We've been talking mostly capital budget, but now this will be operating budget. And Randy Rydell is available on Tuesday, April 13th, but not the 14th. I wondered about other people's availability, if we might move the date of our regular meeting next month. Comments?
Yeah, in the evening, Rema, at 6?
Yes, I was assuming 6 o'clock again.
Yeah,
That's fine.
I'll go with the team, but I want to point out that that's also the night that the fire commissioners have their meeting and LIFAC has its meeting. So
Right.
you're third in line.
Yeah, Mary Ross may not be able to host us, but I might be able to use the church Zoom if that's the case. Rich Hudson and Liz Cosa, what about you?
If it's all right, I just wanted to let you guys know, Randy, he is on the co-op board, and they have a long-standing meeting that is always the exact same time as this LIFAC meeting. So it's just keep that in mind. If you are looking to have Randy talk about finance and all the details around it, he will never be available at this meeting. So whatever day you end up selecting, just know that it can't be this particular day.
Right. And Rich, would you be available to meet on the 13th instead of 14th?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so do we have a consensus to meet on April 13th?
At 6 p.m. Yes.
6 p.m.? Okay, let's plan on that then, please. And bring your financial acumen to that meeting.
Will we be able to see any documents before then, Rema?
I trust we will. Yes.
Okay.
Rich, is that your understanding, or Liz?
Yes.
Okay. That
Yeah.
sounds great. Thank you. Any other internal business to discuss? Okay. Seeing none, let's go on to Rich's report. Rich Hudson, operations report for the month here.
Hey, thanks, Rema. So I'll probably just cover, there hasn't been a whole lot that's happened since the last meeting, but I will cover what placed today. Briefly, we had to do a short notice repair outage, which I greatly appreciated the cooperation of not only the public works crews, but also the community. I didn't hear from anybody about being put out by this inconvenience of this short notice repair outage. And the reason it was short notice is because it was going to involve some welding and some fabricating, which really has to be done during a decent weather window, which we had today. And not only do we get just the finger flapper replaced, we also, our welders fabricated a new safety, aluminum safety guard around the counterbalances on the island side for safety. So we've got, that's been a long-standing item on our list. They got that done today. And we also had our road crew come out and crack seal the Lummi Island parking lot, the transfer span, as well as fill in this really nasty hole that was on our transfer span. And so they got that patched with a nice coat of asphalt, and it's all looking great. And they got all the work done. I think they got everything done about 40 minutes early, despite the fact we got started almost a half an hour late because we were running so terribly behind schedule this morning. It was really busy, and we had to get that last 10 o'clock run in under our belts and got it all done. Work ahead of schedule, and they did a great job.
Richard, would you repeat for me, please, the road crew seal? I missed what, the seal? They did a seal?
Sorry, it's called crack seal. It's basically like an asphalt emulsion that they'll seal cracks in the asphalt with. And they did that. You'll see that throughout the parking lot on the Lummi Island side. They also paid a lot of attention to the transfer span, which is in need of further repair, but we're not going to tackle that till probably next year.
Thank you.
So Rich, we're still going to have a ferry outage on the 17th as well, though, right?
Yes, if that is, yes, we will still have, the 17th of this month. Yeah, that will be the maintenance outage is the 17th. And so the maintenance outage, that is dedicated to just sort of oiling and lubing and inspecting all the moving parts of the apparatus, as well as, changing fluids out in the hydraulic system, filters, that sort of thing. And this one was dedicated primarily to just straight repair work. So sometimes, unfortunately, both are needed.
Thank you. Anything
You
else
bet.
on operations?
That's all I've got right now, unless anybody has any questions for me.
What about, next item is the Santa Can at Gooseberry Point. We voted on that last time. Is there any update on that?
Yeah, we're planning on moving ahead with, doing that sort of pilot program for Memorial Day through Labor Day. And that kind of brings me right into the weather station. We did find a really nice weather station that is that, you buy this weather station, the company that you procure it from, they erect the weather station, they maintain the weather station. There's about a yearly $900 contract for that. But the weather station can store data. It can be accessed via your phone. It can live on our website, and it's of a really high, robust quality. So I think it would last us for years to come. I think it would suit our purposes well. The downside is it is a $5,900 purchase. And also in the future, we could add a high definition camera that could give you a really good view of Hales Passage and the Whatcom Cheap and where it is in transit. If you want that whole package, you're looking at closer to $7,500. So I guess in short, I'm happy to take the SantaCan and this weather station and move it finance and see if we can't procure it and move it to the next level if that's everyone's desire.
Sounds like Elizabeth Kalinowski would be behind that. Is that right, Elizabeth? And any other comments? So where does this fit into the budget overall?
Yeah, just quickly, Rich. So $5,900 initial purchase and then an additional annual fee of $900. Did I hear that right?
Yeah, that's correct. And something to bear in mind is that the initial weather station we had up there that lasted us, I think, about 2 years, maybe less, that cost almost $1,000, and we got a couple of years out of it. So if you think it in those terms, you know, investing in something like this, if it's a piece of equipment we want to keep and maintain, would make sense to do to you know, put the money up front to get something that's quality and yeah, I mean that's my 2 cents.
Liz?
Yeah, can I say something real quick?
Sure.
If that becomes a problem financially, and you need to make some other choices, maybe I can help think that through. So I could volunteer to help you with that if you can't do what you want to do there financially.
Okay.
And Liz?
Okay, sounds good.
Liz Kosa?
Yeah, as far as the finance piece of it, Rich and I discussed it this morning. We'll set up a time with Randy to actually go over and look to see what the budget could or couldn't handle. So the next step is I had asked Rich, let's put together the package so that we can meet with finance. And that's both for the SantaCan and for the weather station to see what we're able to do. So I don't have an answer for you right now because we haven't met with the brains yet, but when we do, we'll make sure we let you know.
Okay.
I will throw in the thought, Rich and Liz, that LIFAC is really flush right now, the Island Community Association. And we've given out a couple or 3 grants outside of the normal process. So that's a possibility. I'm just putting it out there. Mary's aware of that too. There would be a possibility of I don't know what you'd call it, an emergency grant or something. Okay. We can explore that if we need to.
All right, thank you.
Aren't grants?
Thank you.
Grants are usually, you have to apply at a certain time of year though, right? And they're awarded in January and February. They've already been awarded for this year,
Yeah,
right?
but we've gone outside of that because of COVID and
Okay.
having lots of money. So
Yay. Okay.
Hey, Rich, sorry. What's the name of the company one more time in case I want to look at it myself? Earth.
Yeah, sure, Judy. It's
Earth.
called Earth Networks. So
Oh.
Earth and then NETWORKS.
Thanks. Sure, I can.
.com,
You bet.
I'm sure.
at earthnetworks.com.
That would probably do it. I
Okay.
haven't looked at the website quite yet, but
Oh.
that's the name of the company.
Cool. Yeah, I do think that'd be valuable information to have, as Elizabeth mentions.
It is earthnetworks.com. I just looked it up.
Yeah.
One
Thank
word,
you.
earthnetworks.com.
Thank you. Okay. Any other comments? Let's move on to the replacement ferry project. Who's going to talk to that? Liz or Rich? Liz, go.
Okay. Sorry, Roland couldn't be here today. He had a procedure and he's recuperating. So he would otherwise normally give this to you guys, but I'll do it today. So where we're at with the crab application. So the call to projects, as you guys know, we gave crab notice that we are intending to do a presentation when they do the meeting in April for the call to projects. We have enlisted KPFF's help. We actually got the Skagit counties application where they actually received the crab money. So we have their application and we're gonna make ours better using theirs. Whatever they did, we're just gonna one a little bit better. Knowing that they were successful, hopefully we'll be as successful as they were. So that's kind of where we're at with that. I've talked to our county engineer and he is fully aware. He is making good relations with the new crab leadership that's down there. The previous director has left, so we have a new one, but I believe his name is Derek, but he was already with crab, so it's not an entirely new person. So kind of same regime that's there. So that's kind of what's going on with the crab.
What's the name of the county engineer, please?
Oh, Jim Karcher. He's been
KARCHCHER.
KARCHER.
Double A. Jim KAARCHER.
KAR.
Oh, 1A. Got it. Okay.
CHER.
Okay. Thank you.
Elizabeth, where is the crab board? Is it in Olympia?
It's in Olympia.
Okay.
It's actually where we want them to be so that they can go across the street and plead our case to the legislature. So it's a good spot for them. And they're a good group of folks. I was on a training meeting with them today to look over what the responsibility of each county is with regards to getting road tax money and real estate tax money coming back to the road fund. And their motto is, what can we do to help counties, not what can we do to, tell them what they're doing wrong. So they have a pretty good mindset, and I'm pretty confident that they're going to do everything they can to help us out. So, and through the process. So it's a good group. All right, well, let's move on to the funding plan part of it. So we have the capital surcharge, which is coming up on March 23rd. It was introduced yesterday. They didn't do much with it. It's just introduced. So the next step, I believe, Rama, you're going to speak at that meeting.
I believe Roland is going to speak, but I am happy to be a supporter. That's my understanding, unless you tell me otherwise.
No, I'm not going to change whatever plans you and Roland had. If Roland's going to speak, that's great. He just hasn't been here for the last week, so I didn't have a chance to touch base with him.
Well, if you wouldn't mind double checking on that.
I absolutely will.
I am available. I wasn't planning on doing a presentation, but I'm available.
Okay, sounds great.
Should the rest of us be there as well?
I don't think it will hurt. I mean,
Okay.
remember the last time you guys were all in front of council? It was nice to kind of have the support of the group. So I don't think it'll hurt by any means. Okay.
Can you send us then what time it will be, or do we just go to or how to get Zoom or any of this logistics?
As we get closer, we can get the details. I'll forward it to Rama, or I guess I'll give it to Rich, and he can send it to Rama, and then you guys will have all the details that we have.
Well, just send it to our LIFAC group address.
Yeah. All right. You guys probably saw an attachment that went out. We call it the Lummi Island Ferry System Modernization and Preservation Project, and it's an overview. So the director had asked me to kind of put a pseudo white paper that basically gives the overall summary of all the things that we've been doing and where we're at, including the new piece that's on there is the funding portion of it. So I don't know if you've had a chance to look at that. All of it's from documents that you guys have worked on, or we have done over the past decade. So trying to do a one-stop shop 4-pager, and that's what that is. And in there, it talks about the funding piece. And where we're at right now with funding is obviously we're going to go for the build grant. There's no question we're putting in for that. In fact, part of the financial plan beyond the surcharge that's going to happen at next council will also be the financial plan for the build grant itself. Have you guys received, there is an amortization schedule for the payments of the grant and the loans that would be out there? Have you seen that yet? If not, I will make sure that I forward it to you guys. It's part of the packet for the council submittal.
I would love to see it again. I've not seen it for a long time, so that'd be
Okay, I'll
great.
make sure that you guys get, basically when we scan it into Granicus, which is the software for the council, I'll send you guys a copy of that as well, the packet that's gonna go to the council.
Are you asking for comments on the 4-pager you put together, the modern?
No, it's just informational. It's all stuff that it came completely out of all the documents that have either come from LIFAC or came from KPFF on behalf of LIFAC. So it's kind of a one-stop shop instead of going through, I don't know, the hundreds of pages of work that you guys have put out in the last decade, to try to just do a little bit easier read when we're having these conversations with different groups about, let's say, I'll just kind of go down. So if there's a question about design constraints, there's a section there. If you want to know, if the community wants to know, how does this meet the community's needs? We have a section about why this vessel is important for the community.
Right.
If you want to know about fiscal impacts of delaying, we have a chunk there that talks about, yeah, if we keep the boat going the way it is now, what will that look like, and what will happen to the reliability? And then economic impact, innovation, like if you wanted to know about what we're doing to reduce pollution in a variety of ways, it's all in there. So again, 4 pages rather than hundreds was the idea here. So when, yeah, so when you're, go ahead, sorry.
One question, and especially since Jim, you were on here and this is something you've raised in the past. On page 3, under objectives, it says diesel battery hybrid design offers carbon/fuel reduction and redundant power system innovation. Is that fuel reduction? It's an objective. Is that a reality? Because that's a concern you've raised every once in a while, Jim.
Well, every time you put a battery into things, you lose between 35 and 40% in insertion loss, charging and discharging, which, being the only place you're going to get any power is off of those diesel engines, you'll be burning more fuel. And I also have another one of the things that is that the engines which the Caterpillar C18s, which are fine engines, are basically upscale engines of the Watcom Chief, and they're putting out more power by a tremendous amount more turbo boost, and that will limit their lifespan. So the smaller engines, the engines that they're proposing for this thing, are going to wear out pretty fast. And so I personally think that until we actually get some extra power from somewhere, that maybe we ought to just build a boat for the diesels and then put the stuff in later. We had a power outage here on about 3 weeks ago when the transformer went down on Gooseberry Point, and it went down, from what my power company friends tell me, because it was overloaded. So the grid coming into Lummi Island is maximized right now. And until something else comes along, and I know we're going to hear about microgrids and everything, but until that actually comes across, we're not going to be able to pull any power out of anything. And so that's what I'm worried about.
I appreciate your chiming in, and I'm only bringing it up so that if this is out there, Liz, And it is, you know, part of our public record, and there is talk like Jim is bringing up. Our response is, what about fuel reduction at this point? What do we say?
Well, you can say, because it says diesel battery hybrid design offers carbon reduction, power system innovation, we're talking about it may not necessarily do it right now, but if we were able to go to full electric, which is the bullet point below it, at some point in the future, we could potentially get down to, and obviously it would depend on where we're charging it, as Jim said. I mean, I'm not going to say where that would be. Maybe it's on the mainland side. And that's where we're talking about. It could offer that. There's options to get us there.
I would like to make comment about that. Okay, build the boat with all the stuff in it to do it, but don't put it in, because until we have the supply, it's just going to burn more fuel than if we didn't have it. And what I'm looking at right now, even as a stock diesel boat going through that design, is about 70 more gallons of fuel a day. That's every day. And that's one of the reasons I'm really not, I'm looking at that hull design. I'm saying we could do better. The old V hull is considerably more efficient. We've got the water for it. It's simpler to build. I would rather see us go that way.
Are there any other comments? I think it's a wonderful document. That was the only thing that caught my eye. Charles, you had a comment?
Yeah, I think I saw the document. It came out last month around our last meeting, and I'm afraid I can't find it now. So if you could send it again. But I remember I had one question that I posed, Elizabeth, and that is that the capital surcharge, I had thought we talked about as being a permanent to build up a replacement fund. But I see that it is only going for the 6 years, during the actual construction implementation phase. So has that changed, or did I just miss something along the line here?
For the finance plan that we're doing for the build grant, yes, it only shows it for a few years.
Hmm.
But in the resolution that's going to go to the council, we don't do a sunset on it. So
Okay,
whether
good.
it's used for that or it's used for future replacement, that hasn't been determined yet. But yeah, there is no sunset clause, so it would continue. The fund would continue to garnish money.
Great, very subtle. Thank you.
Other comments?
Yeah, I'd like to say one thing. All these objections I've been bringing up, I'm not bringing up just to be an impediment. I'm looking forward to the future. And I'm looking at, I think that according to Zillow, there's one house for sale on Lummi Island. Everything else is sold. As you go through Bellingham, you can go through whole neighborhoods without a house for sale. This place, despite what some of us think or want or like, is going to grow. And in my opinion, we need to be prepared for that. The boat they're bringing out is one space smaller than the one that was brought out in 2008. In my opinion, in 2008 would be obsolete the day it got here. And that has not changed my opinion since then. That's why I think that we need to be a little more agile with the design, and so we can add to it. And it shouldn't cost any more if it's done right. That's where I'm coming from. I've been doing a lot of study and listening to real estate people and looking at demographics. And this place, ever since COVID, it's a I would say a sea change in people wanting to come here.
Thank you. I agree with.
Planned on years ago.
I agree. Thank you, Jim. I agree with that. It's hard to see the future. I'm also seeing more and more people working from home on the island, and how that's all going to balance out. I think we're just going to have to wait and see it at this point. We have several other, I don't know what the appropriate time is to comment on it. You had the dollar capital surcharge FAQ. Is this a good time to ask questions about that?
Sure. I mean, we can go, this is all part about which is in the next section of your agenda. This is about public outreach.
Oh, okay.
This is,
Well-
I'll kind of let Marie kind of walk us through what we've done other areas, if you guys are ready.
Okay, that sounds great. We'll do that and then I can hold my questions till then. Go,
Hey,
Marie.
everyone. So some of you I've met, some of you I haven't met before. My name is Marie Duckworth, and I'm the relatively new communications specialist for Whatcom County Public Works. I did create the FAQs document that Rama mentioned, and it talks about the dollar capital surcharge, and then it also has some similar FAQs related to the new ferry vessel. And what I was envisioning is creating kind of a flyer that on one side would have kind of a large image with some bullet points, and then the other side would have these FAQs. And then I would also at the same time be building out a website for the project so people could go to the website for more information and also to read the FAQs from the website itself as well. So I know all of you, I think you all received a copy of these FAQs in advance of the meeting, and we can go through them however you'd like.
Lead the way. What do you prefer we look at first? And everybody did get the documents, correct? That I think they were all in last night's email that I sent you.
So, you know, if you'd like, I could do a screen share and then we could look at it on my screen together.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah, that'd be great. Mary, are you?
Looks like I can do it.
Oh, you can? Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, so can everyone see the screen okay?
Yeah.
We'll just zoom in. So I tried to think about the kinds of questions that people might ask, and you know, try to provide those questions with answers and additional information. So you know, sitting in on the meeting tonight has been really helpful for me to kind of understand kind of what folks on the island are thinking. The first one here is on the surcharge. You know, why can't we just keep the Whatcom chief and continue to update it? And it talks about the issues with the current vessel, and you know, in short, obsolescence would require a new vessel, which is the kind of the last sentence we have here. And then we also have a chart here that talk about the dry dock costs and expenses, and you can see that we would have an extremely significant cost coming up in the future, around 2028, 2029-ish. And then we talk about paying for the new ferry. So unfortunately, there's no single funding source that would cover the entire cost of it. So the county is actively looking for a multitude of ways to help pay for this. And the dollar surcharge would be one of those. Talks about the crowdfunding, FHWA, build grant, all the things that Liz has kind of talked about already during the meeting tonight. We talk about how the surcharge will only be used. The ferry is the only capital asset owned by Whatcom County that does not have a replacement fund. So this new surcharge would be really important as a dedicated funding source exclusively for the new ferry and terminal modifications. Then we go on to talk about decisions making in terms of enacting the dollar surcharge, and this is where this group really comes in. The LIFAC, in partnership with the County Public Works Department, has evaluated all options and recommended the surcharge as an important component of fully funding the new ferry. And of course, you know, this document is here at your meeting tonight for your input. So of course, if you have any input, this would be a great time to talk about that. We go on to talk about who would be exempt from paying the dollar surcharge, which would be folks who are on the needs-based programs, seniors, disabled, and student fares would be exempt. And, when will this start? If the county council adopts the surcharge, then we would begin collection shortly thereafter. And we'll keep island residents informed via our email list and our website as additional information occurs. That would be the email list that probably all of you are on to receive notifications from the county.
Marie,
Uh-huh.
when is this, what's your intention on when this will be public?
So I think that, first we would want to get all of your input, and if you had any additional things that we would want to add to this. And then I would work with Rich and Liz to move forward with potentially a flyer that would have this on there, as well as a web page.
I'm just asking because that says, should they adopt it? And I'm thinking before this gets public, they will adopt it on the 21st.
Well, we could always send it out to our email list and, get it out that way fairly quickly as well. But yeah, of course, the FAQs can change. And one of the things about putting the FAQs on a web page is that it could be updated as needed.
Okay, I thought you said this is going to appear on a printed poster.
I was envisioning a flyer as well, just to try to reach folks who might not be very internet savvy.
Okay.
So yeah, I guess the short answer is there's no firm publication date.
Good, thank you.
Yeah. Let's see. Then we talk about how the surcharge will be collected. That it would be added to the total purchase price of any new punch cards that were bought after the surcharge takes effect. Single ride fares would increase by $1, and any existing punch cards that were purchased before the beginning of the surcharge would still be honored and grandfathered in. If anyone needed a replacement punch card, though, that replacement punch card would include the surcharge. How long would the surcharge last? Basically, establishing this dedicated funding source is essential for reducing the large fare spikes that we could see in the future. And so this surcharge has no expiration date. Kind of what Liz said earlier, there's no sunset for the surcharge. And then the next question is, will the surcharge increase in the future? We don't have any plans to increase the surcharge. And if there ever was an increase, then it would require a public process, and we would get input from islanders before anything like that would happen. And of course, this group, LIFAC, would be really important to that. Then the next page is questions on the new vessel. So how big would it be, and what would it look like? We talk a little bit about that, but then we do have a new vessel webpage on the website for Whatcom County Public Works. So that's really the place where we're going to put all that information. And then how is the vessel size determined? It was a process that included the county council, LIFAC, and Public Works, and kind of yielded this 34-car, 150 passenger hybrid diesel electric replacement that would meet current standards and meet the needs of residents, emergency services, taxpayers, crew members, and the environment for decades to come. And we also kind of link back to that level of service webpage and the level of service documents that LIFAC worked with County Council on previously. The vessel, then we talk about the maintenance of the new vessel. It would require less downtime for maintenance in terms of U.S. Coast Guard dry docking. That would be required once every 5 years. And shortened annual out of service maintenance periods would compared to the current 3-week dry docking that the current vessel has, which would give residents less time without the ferry. The passenger experience will be able to transport more cars and pedestrians with fewer round trips, and it will meet the Americans with Disability Act requirements and include a dedicated vehicle and pedestrian spaces for safer travel for both of those groups. We'll also have vehicle lanes that are wider, and the vessel will be able to accommodate wider and heavier loads. When we talk about accommodating for passenger growth, And we expect, based on projections, for the ferry to meet capacity through 2060. The ferry should also improve emergency services. The island's immediate emergency response is primarily centered around the volunteer fire department, and there are no medical facilities. So the ferry provides really critical emergency services functions for fire support, EMS, and utility service workers and law enforcement. And it also provides easy mainland access for folks that might need to get to doctor's offices and other facilities. Another thing to point out is that this new vessel will be able to easily and safely travel to Port of Bellingham terminals and facilities as well, if for some reason we ever needed to dock at any of the port facilities. The vessel would also positively affect the island's economy and quality of life. It's going to provide great reliability and capacity, and improve the movement of goods and services for your store, the restaurants, the library, the post office, the church, and the school. And it will also support island tourism and islander transit to and from the mainland for important services. The environmental benefits of the vessel: the new diesel hybrid vessel was specifically designed to reduce pollution from noise, lighting, and emissions. And it is designed with the capability to convert to full electric once that technology and the funding to pay for it would be available. And it is designed to provide flexibility for future electric conversion. And the terminal improvements would consider projected sea level rise in their construction. The new construction would also create around 240 jobs, with 125 jobs for the construction of the vessel and 120 jobs for the terminal improvements. So this is, I took the documents that Liz mentioned earlier in terms of the build grant and some of those other things, and I tried to take that information and put it into a more plain language that would be easier for folks to understand who, may not be savvy with reading grants and might not have a lot of experience with technical language. And that's the document that we wanted to share with you tonight.
I think that what you've done is tremendous. And it's also true, as I think Mike alluded to, that this is going to be what people on the island and elsewhere see. This is the summary of what we've done the last 5 or 6 years. So I think it's important we go through this, all of us on LIFAC, and make sure that we can help Marie with the wording of this. And my question, Rema, is should we do it now, or should we send our comments separately, written comments? I'm kind of inclined to go through it now just so that we can all do it together, given that this is going to be the go-to document in future.
It'll take too long, Charles.
Oh, I don't know. Well, I'll just, I read through it carefully a couple days ago, and I agree with Charles. I think it's great, Marie, and thank you so much. I only had one comment, so I don't know if we want to do it now or not. But.
I prefer doing it now. If Mike, you have, or
you guys go ahead if you want. I'm going to send Maria
okay,
my own document about some of the questions I have.
Let's capture the initial reactions that we had. Judy, why don't you start?
So Marie, on the and I think it's coincidence that this is also 4 pages. On it would be your page 3. Will the passenger experience be? What will the passenger experience be like with the new ferry? I would encourage the removal of the phrase with fewer round trips, because I don't really think that we are ready to talk about a ferry schedule yet. And I think folks seeing that might raise some alarms that, oh my God, they're going to take away runs on us, and that we can just deal with it. We've got many years to go before we nail down a ferry schedule. So that's just a comment I have.
No
That's
obje-
great.
No objections from Public Works to remove that.
Okay, I agree, and that was one of mine. I have one that's, I just going through it, looking at it on my screen. I think facts should be spelled without the apostrophe. This is a very small item, but some people notice these things. And on the first graph, if you could spell out what DD, cost analysis, means. And then if we scroll down, what will the surcharge money be used for?
Which page is that on?
That'd be page 2. It's the question, what will the surcharge money be used for, at the top of page 2?
Okay,
I would answer the question in the first sentence, not the second sentence. I would say the surcharge will be used exclusively for the new ferry and modifications to the terminals. And then the explanation is the first sentence, the ferry is the only capital. I mean, it needs a little more tweaking of the language, but in general, I think you need to answer the question in the first sentence in all of these facts.
great.
And even when you have one sentence, turn it around so the second clause becomes the first clause. Let's see. Who is exempt from paying the dollar surcharge? This is the third question on page 2. Let's see. Oh, sorry. No, who is exempt? The question about the third question. And our pedestrian fares are included in the surcharge or not?
Yes.
Yes, they are.
They are. Okay, good. All right.
On that point, I thought we lumped the student fares last month into needs-based as one, because there weren't any. Richie said there were between none and 5, I think.
But there might be some in the
That's
future, and it is a category.
Yeah.
So I leave it in, just because then people might say, why are you picking on students? I don't know. Let's see.
Real quick, if it's okay, Charles, Mike, with regards to that, because the language for those 2 needs-based senior disabled, they're spelled out specifically when you go to apply for those. And they have a whole bunch of language that's associated with just them. So as
Okay.
far as the language that we're putting to the council, we could not lump them as one. So that's why they're listed out. We just matched what we put for the council paper.
Thank you.
Can I interject here? I think I would suggest under who is exempt, use the language that is actually in the memorandum or in the ordinance, which is senior/disabled, because it's not all seniors. And when I don't want to answer questions about, all seniors are exempt. Don't start that rumor. I'll raise my hand. So, does that
Okay.
make sense, Marie?
Yes, that makes sense.
Okay,
Okay.
If I can,
go ahead,
go
Charlie.
ahead, Jim. I just want to have a couple more points, and then Jim, how long will the surcharge increase in the future? The last question on page 2.
Okay,
This is always, people are always going to suspect that this is just the nose of the camel under the tent, I think. So you can say there are no plans to, at this time. I don't know if you need at this time. You can just say there are no plans to increase the surcharge, or put at this time at the end of the sentence. Any increase would require public process and input from islanders, and also the approval of the county council, right?
yes,
So I would put that in the sentence, would require a public process, input from islanders leading to and final approval by the county council.
Okay,
And the other, when we start talking about the vessel, we've been using the term diesel battery hybrid. And I think we're still using that. Elizabeth, isn't that true? In the
For our application, yeah, yes, we are.
then we should use it here.
I believe what Marie was trying to do is because that isn't a commonly known term, putting it into plain talk, but we can leave it with as battery. Hybrid. It's fine.
Well, yeah, it's
And
just
which one
sort of
was that?
last, wherever you've written these various sentences, questions about the vessel itself. When the propulsion comes up, you use diesel hybrid. And we've gone through so many different permutations over the last 3 years. I would just like to stick to what's in what we've agreed on,
okay.
because otherwise it just leads to circular conversations and people start thinking it's like a Prius or something, and it's not. So I would stick with that. And let's see, I think, let's see, what page is this? Page 4. What are the third question? Third question from the top. What are the environmental benefits of the new vessel? The new diesel battery hybrid was specifically designed to reduce pollution from noise, lighting, and emissions. It is designed with the capability to convert to a full electric vessel once shore power, not technology. The technology is already here. The real constraint is shore power, the ability to charge at either Gooseberry Point or Lummi Island or both. So I would recommend we avoid questions. The first thing people are going to say, why is the Washington State ferry system converting to electric? And we see that the BC ferries are buying battery hybrid electric vessels from Holland. Why do you say there's no technology? So I would recommend that little change. Any comments from my colleagues?
Yeah, I've got one. First of all, since you brought that up, Charles, the proposed engines for this new ferry, the 6 cylinders, are going to be considerably louder than the ones the Whatcom Chief has because the higher turbo boost and detonation rate. The other thing is that the 6 cylinders also will be transmitting more to the marine environment than if you had a 12 or a lot, or because then the pulses are even. And the bigger, this is one of the reasons I am advocating for bigger engines, because you don't run them as hard. You don't turn them as hard. They run like 6 times as long. And the other thing is that as the way we're setting up, it's going to burn considerably more fuel, which means more carbon pollution than the Whatcom Chief has. And I think this is misleading. I think that whole thing should just be left out, because if somebody really wants to come down on it, you can. Now, the other point I have is about the number of trips. Reducing the trips, in my opinion, I realize this is not popular with some people, but there is no way that you're going to keep the same number of trips the Whatcom Chief has unless you run that ferry at least about a third empty. So in other words, instead of the old 20-car ferry, according to the studies done way back in 2008, is good for 2.5 trips an hour. The bigger ferry is good for 2. So it's going to be a 10-minute difference. And that's insignificant. So to me, reducing the number of trips, that reduces the number of noise, that reduces the everything else. I think it's a good thing, and I think it should be left in my opinion.
Left in
the facts.
Judy's comment,
Yeah.
right.
Right,
Okay,
right.
thank you.
right.
Hey,
I
Marie,
have
food for thought.
Real quick with regards to the noise, Jim, it doesn't matter what engine we use. In the spec, which you have seen, we specifically call out that no amount of decibel over a certain level, which is lower than what the chief currently has, is to be emitted from the vessel. And we're very specific as far as noise. So if they have to put 20 inches of insulation so that doesn't so the noise is reduced, that's what they're gonna have to do. I'm not prescribing what they need to do to get to that, but we were very clear as far as what noise can be emitted from that vessel.
Well, I think some of it's going to get out anyway. It's hard to stop it. Having gone on things at the Vehicle Research Institute at Bellingham when I was a student and later a volunteer, that was one of the big things, and it was really difficult. So I just don't like the idea that we're going to be replacing engines all the time with this boat.
Can I make one more comment?
Jim, thank you for bringing these points up. Yes, Charles.
I have one other word change on page 2. Page 2. The second question, how were island residents involved in making the decision to enact a $1 surcharge? The Lummi Island Ferry Advisory Committee, in partnership with Whatcom County Public Works, evaluated all options and recommended the surcharge as a necessary component rather than important, because what does important mean? In terms of its contribution to the overall $33 million project, it's not important. So, okay.
Thank you.
And end of kvetching here.
Mike, you said
First-
you had other comments that will take longer because we have another agenda item or two here. Do you?
Yeah, I don't intend to do that tonight.
Okay. All right. So you can reach out to Marie and the,
Yeah, I'm going to reach out to Marie on my own.
okay. And so the next step in terms of timing and when we would see comments incorporated and so on would be what?
I guess if some folks are going to be sending me their comments separately, then maybe we should have a date for all comments need to be to Marie by a certain date. And then I would need some time to compile those and then I could send it back out to the group.
That works for me. And most of these then should be available before the March 23rd meeting, correct? The county council presentation, is that the timing that we're looking at here, or talk timing to me here?
I just think that, you know, this is a conversation that folks on the island have obviously been having for a number of years. And it sounds like you're at the point now where you're going to be bringing something before the county council. So, you know, we can do it before the meeting with the council or after, or concurrent, you know, that the timing is, I mean, that's something that would be at your pleasure.
I'd suggest we do it, make the final revision after the county council meeting, because so we can incorporate any comments that come up from council members.
You read my
tweak it.
mind. You read my mind, Charles.
Mhm.
Also, that eliminates any perception before the council meeting that the public might have about. Everybody's got a viewpoint.
Mhm.
So limit the viewpoint by putting this out after the surcharge. As it's going into effect, here are the questions.
Do you think that we should have any of this stuff before the council meeting in case people, islanders may want to make comment and they would have this information in advance?
That's what I was addressing. I think that's inviting unnecessary.
Well, here's the other.
I've just been through this before. There's people will constantly raise questions if you give them the soapbox, and this is done. This is a done deal. It's either going to get passed or not. If it isn't passed for some reason, then all of this is a moot point. And if it is passed, here are the questions and the answers that we need you to understand about why we did this, what it's going to do, etc.
And
So,
Mike,
so releasing it ahead of time opens a big can of worms, possibly.
Mike, one thing we need to release ahead of time, and I'm actually going to charge you with doing a draft that we can all take a look at, is we've got this tome deadline coming up that we need to be clear and address the fact that it will be brought before the county council on the 23rd. So that is part of the dance that we're talking about here. What do you suggest we do in terms of timing with that?
I'll take the charge for you, and then I'll send out what I believe is the most effective and appropriate. And I'd bounce that off of Elizabeth and Marie and Dave, excuse me, and Rich, as well as the committee, so that, because as a newcomer, you may need to change some of the language.
Okay, Mary, I see your hand up.
May I just say one thing that I think that I really would like to point out is there are a lot of new people that have moved to the island in this past year. And I think that you are really going to be, it's not going to be great to not invite them to comment on things. That's just, I don't know. I think that could be, I see where Mike's saying with a can of worms, but I also just know that you really need to try to reach out to the whole community, because the community is different again. That's all.
And the surcharge was mentioned in our last month's tome article. So start with that. And I saw no feedback, but again, I don't know how many people read it, but anyway, we will look forward to you. Thank you for taking on the draft of the tome article, Mike, and see where you think we need to go with that. And I'm taking into consideration Mary's comments about newcomers as well. So,
can I ask Mary how you think we should be reaching newcomers? They may not know about or be subscribers to the tome. And at some point, we are going to have a big public outreach, although not before the 23rd of this month. So how do you think make sure we reach all these people who haven't been here for all the years of discussion about these ferries?
I don't know. It may be a large Zoom meeting to have people, comments or something. I don't know that. I don't know, because with COVID, it's really hard to not be able to do it with, in person.
Well, we were planning to do something like that, but it's really short notice, and to figure out how to reach the new people, to tell them even there's a Zoom meeting.
yeah.
I think a lot of those new folks do next door, but I hate that. So anyway, I don't want to hijack your meeting, so I'm gonna.
Judy, let me clarify something real quick, Judy, and then let me restate it. We're saying kind of the same thing I said last month's meeting. I thought we should get the word out immediately that so people can start anticipating that there's a surcharge and not get caught by surprise. That's different from laying out a lot of information that could stimulate basically anything, when this is actually already done, that it's going in front of the county council. And that's what I think we need to tell the public right now. This is done, and it's going in front of the council, and there'll either be one or there won't.
Well,
that's what I'm saying. And so I'm just feeling like this wonderful piece of work that Marie's done is a moot point until it passes, and there is a surcharge. Some of it, not all of it, what she's done here because it doesn't all address surcharge, but that part of it. So I on one hand, I'm agreeing with Mary and all of you that the public, we don't want to surprise anybody. All of a sudden they wake up and they're paying $1 more. And we've done that with last month's tome. We'll do it again in this month's tome. In any other way, I'd encourage county to put it on the website right away. Public Works, I'm saying,
But they might not do that until the county council approves it. One thing, Mary mentions Nextdoor, and we have in the past avoided using Nextdoor because of various reasons. Do we think the tome is enough at this critical juncture where people are facing $1 more? Or is that just on a slippery slope? Once we do it, people will expect we do it, and then the horse is out of the barn.
Judy.
I think we're in a really difficult time with the COVID restrictions. I think that people have relied in the past on that print tome that goes into your mailbox if you subscribe. I really don't get the sense that very many people are connecting with the online tome. I think that you have to be pretty proactive to find that. And I also know that there are so many people that don't want to go near Nextdoor. So I think that we are just really in a tough place in terms of communicating with the general island. I mean, if you want to have a community-wide Zoom meeting, how are you even going to announce that and get people to participate in the first place? I kind of don't see that until we start printing those tomes and getting them in people's mailboxes like we used to have, that we're just not reaching the same volume of people that we used to.
I
Well,
hope I'm not being redundant, but I don't understand why we would have a Zoom meeting.
Well,
To accomplish what?
hypothetically,
My whole point is the bottom line.
Yeah.
And it's in the council's, it's in their packet for the next meeting. Is that correct or not? It was introduced yesterday, right?
Yes.
And now it's on the docket for the next council. It'll be on their agenda, correct? So telling people that any possible way we can, websites, Facebook page, whatever, I think is healthy. Amplifying on it, I don't think is healthy. I think it makes us vulnerable.
well, I see, what I see then perhaps is, Mike, you craft our tome article with words to that effect about it will be on the county council agenda. And it's it's a culmination of a long-term process, and word that carefully. And it can't hurt, even though we don't usually post on Nextdoor, to at least put that county council meeting notice on Nextdoor. Does that make sense? And
Well, you could do that as an individual rather than LIFAC, couldn't you?
we'll have Bill Fox do it. No, I'm kidding.
Well,
No,
well,
he's
anybody,
fairy tale.
anybody. We've got 5 non-members on this call.
Yeah. Well, I will post it on Nextdoor. I will do that.
But coming from LIFAC or
No,
in your own capacity?
my own capacity.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I won't look at Nextdoor for a while. Okay. All right. I'd like to move on to what other steps do we need to take on public awareness today? We've got the tome article, looking for Mike's draft on that. We have plans for at least publicizing the fact that it's on the county council agenda. And then is there any other work we need to do at this meeting, since we have Marie and Liz here, or we'll just wait to see what happens March 23rd and then go forward from there? Liz Cosa.
I would offer up if you guys want any kind of flyers or any kind of illustration or something, we can put some stuff together. So as you guys talk amongst yourselves on what kind of community outreach you guys want to move towards, you know, we are here to help you guys put together the documents in whatever form and fashion you like. Like I offered before, even if I need to get the consultants involved, we can do that as well. So please know that you're not alone, and whatever you need, we're here to help.
One of the things I am hearing, Liz, is that we really ought to have a Zoom meeting, an update where these topics are visually shared in a Zoom environment and not just handed out or not just on a website. I think that would be healthy based on what I've seen, and what I'm hearing is it would be appropriate as a way to introduce whatever the vote is on March 23rd and say, here, it's part of a process, here we are going forward. And so pick a date in April, perhaps, or May. It's maybe May, once we also have the next build grant available, to introduce that as a positive step forward. And that helps paint the picture that it's part of an overall process, correct?
We can, what I think we could also do is, why don't Marie, Rich and I put some concepts together for you guys to look at and to mill around and figure out if you'd like to do any one of those for whether it's an open house. I know you guys, many of you attended the Jackson Bridge open house and saw what that can look like. So we can start on some of that work now so that there's not such a big delay between the next council meeting and what your guys' next step will be. If that's what you like. I don't want to presume that's what you want, but I'm offering those services to you if you'd like them.
Well, based on this conversation, I think it has merits that we ought to plan on having some sort of Zoom outreach, like in early May, that incorporate the build grant, the surcharge, and all of it, and just explains it and makes information available. What I saw on the Jackson Road or Bridge or whatever it was Zoom meeting was only the most affected showed up, but they had good questions, and it was valuable, and it was really well done. So I think we should go forward with that, and I don't have a date in mind, but being able to present the build grant and all these documents and everything in a setting like that in early May makes sense to me. Yes, Charles.
Yeah, I'd just like to endorse early May after the build grant application is in, and endorse what you said. Also, I note that now that President Biden is about to sign the COVID release, he's turning to infrastructure as his next big thing. So this is only good, I think, because we now have a shovel-ready project. So by May, what is going to happen at the federal level may become clear. And so we may have a positive coming together of design and funding and forward-looking, good things to talk about.
Great, I agree. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for sharing thoughts on this. I would like to, unless there's other items that I haven't taken into account here, move forward to new business and discuss the microgrid meeting that Mike Skehan has helped facilitate. And I know, Charles, you've been involved, and David Kirshner, and the possibility of bringing electrical ability to Lummi Island to help recharge whatever the new ferry would be. So Mike, do you want to just take a few minutes and tell us where you've gotten so far on this?
Yeah, Charles, am I usurping your
You-
No,
lead?
not at all. Go ahead.
Either one.
Okay, well, very good. This will be brief. I sent out some stuff and we'll be sending stuff out on microgrids in the future. As we get closer to April 14th, I'll get to that in a second. But a microgrid essentially is the ability to produce power on a local basis and use that power, storing it in some sort of battery or different technology. But that's kind of the gist of it. It offers resilience for communities that are at the end of the line, and we are certainly at the end of the line. We're on a very large extension cord from the mainland, and it offers peak shaving of power, which is important because that's how you get your payback. There are big loads that Jim talked about at certain times of the day, certain months of the year. And if you can store power in off-peak periods locally and use that power when you have the demand for it locally, then you're not sending electrons back and forth under Hale's passage. So I've put together with the assistance of David and Raymond and Charles, something I'm calling a brainstorming pathway for resilience for Lemmy Island. And we put together a really good group of people, representatives of other organizations that will be part of this brainstorming roundtable. Opalco, who put in the Decatur microgrid, their general manager is in, and their director of planning and operations will be giving us about a 5 or a 6 minute overview of that Decatur facility. Puget Sound Energy is in. Their manager of planning for the Northwest Power Grid is anxious to talk to us. I've talked to Kit, and he's going to bring along 1 or 2 others from PSC that can bring something to the table to further this along. We've gotten commitments now from, LIFAC, Rama, I believe, and Charles will certainly be invited. Hopefully 1 other from LIFAC can be there. We've got commitments from the Whatcom County Climate Impact Advisory Committee, their chair, and David represents them also. We're reaching out to the PUD to get 1 of the commissioners as part of the brainstorm. LICA will be represented, Bill Bailey, and Lemmy Island Heritage Trust is in, Judy Olson. Fire District 11 is in. The Health and Wellness Committee, Bob Anderson is in. So we just got a few pieces of the puzzle yet to bring to this event, and it will last about 90 minutes. We'd like to get Todd Donovan to join us if he's available, and Rama, if you could make that invitation, that would be wonderful. Also to get whoever LIFAC recommends or Public Works recommends, to get 1 or 2 people from Public Works on board to participate. Richie, I hope you can join us at 10:30 for a 90-minute presentation. So that's kind of the gist of it. It's a matter of opportunities. It's shared generation and load, and doing it locally. It's providing for essential services when we have outages. You can automatically switch the battery bank and power grid to maybe just have the school down to the islander as your core essential service. There's lots of possibilities. We haven't ruled anything in, anything out. We kind of want to get a dialogue going before we do anything like that. And it's also where you come in is a possibility to charge the ferry from the battery banks during off-peak hours, in those hours during the evening hours when the ferry's only making 1 run, and certainly when it's berthed at Lemmy Island, it'd be a great opportunity to top the batteries off for the next day. So that's kind of where we're at. Mark your calendar, April 14th. This group will meet for about 90 minutes. I'll make a video of it, and Mary Ross has agreed to host it for the Zoom portion. and we'll make that video available for other
What
LIFAC
time?
members.
What time on the 14th?
It's at 10:30 in the morning, and we'll go until noon. And the video will be posted various places, LummyIsland.com and other places for the general public, just to see what microgrids, trying to make more of a public awareness out of this than any decision making. Where do we go from here? What's the pathway? So I'll turn it back to you, Raymond. Thanks for the time.
Well, I'm excited about it. I think because of Open Meetings Act, we need to be careful that only 3 of us attend. Is there somebody who would like to be a third person, and then everybody else can watch the video? It's like everybody will hear the information, but who would like to actually attend in person? Judy, and I was wondering about Jim, but I don't see Jim here right now.
Well, I might like to, but I might not have time, so I need to check
Okay.
if I could get back to folks.
Well, get back to Mike Skehan. He's masterminding this,
I
and
know where he lives.
huh?
I know where he lives.
Well, Jim, did you hear what I was just saying, that it would be good to have a third person there? Because of open meetings criteria, we don't want more than that at the meeting itself. Would you be interested in being that? Judy said she might be. Are you there?
Betty's muted.
He's talking to you, Jim.
Oh, I don't know what happened. The thing just dumped here.
Okay. Okay.
So I came back. Now, come back to that again.
Well, Mike, were you able to catch Mike Skehan's overview of the microgrid?
No, I wasn't. I just got back on. Some reason, I don't know what happened. The meeting just went away.
Okay. Well, I'm going to
I don't know if it
suggest,
happened to everybody or just me.
so Mike, if you could possibly share that information with both Judy and Jim, and then decide who the third person might be.
I will do that.
Thank you very much. And then I'm excited that everybody will be able to see the YouTube or whatever of the meeting afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you for the time.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. I love your energy, and there's all sorts of possibilities here. So I'm excited to hear more. Any other business? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
Before we adjourn, I'd just like to once again thank you, Marie, for coming to our meeting and for preparing the facts. This is really essential. You're right at the heart of what we're trying to do. And I think I speak for all of us to say thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, likewise, Marie.
Yeah, thank you. It's great to have been on the Zoom with you.
It's lovely. And Liz, thank you for joining us today. And do we need to worry about Roland? Is he okay?
He's okay. He's an ornery guy. There's nothing that's going to keep him down. Don't worry about that.
Good news.
He'll be back.
Good news. Okay. So the meeting is adjourned. See you next month on April 13th. Thank you. And thank you, Mary, again.
Oh, and maybe see you at the council meeting on the 23rd.
Oh, yes. And we will share that info to make sure everybody has an opportunity to view it. And I think there are special steps. I've never done it to say you want to speak. I've not done that myself, so we will need very clear instructions. Okay. Thank you. And thank you, Mary, again.
It's great to see all of you. Thanks.
You're the best.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Thanks, Mary. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Rich.
Thanks, everybody, from me too. I apologize about it. I don't know what happened. The new internet's wonderful, but it just went down.
There you go. I can't wait till we get back and meeting in person. It'll be a good day. Take
Hey,
care.
Rama,
Yeah.
LIFAC's, not, LICA's website is now active.
Uh-oh, okay.
It is going, and it really is a nice website, and they're trying to promote and get people on it, and that might be a good place to post the FAQ documents. And then Paul can promote people to go there from the tome, and you could maybe put in your tome article you could view those on the Leica website now.
That is perfect.
It
love
didn't hit me until, and I sent a text out to everybody, a chat out to everybody on it, but that might be, because we've been looking for an alternative to Evil Next Door. I hate Nextdoor, but that is, that's one of the purposes that Leica is putting that website together, and they are, trying to increase hits on the website, and something like that would benefit the community, because that's really what they were designing it for, was to open up communications for the community.
Okay, but it is all moderated, and it's moderated by Alan, correct?
It's not like a discussion thing that I know of yet. I don't know how that's going to work.
No,
I don't
but I
know
mean,
how that end is
You
going to
don't, he's the only one capable of loading pages on there, correct?
Yes, we're going to be doing a calendar thing, though, what will allow groups like to put their own calendar items and stuff like that on. So, but he tries to keep stuff like county posts and stuff on the ferry. The ferry outage was posted on there for today and everything. So they're trying to keep stuff current and up. And I have no idea. I am not a web person, and I have just gotten so disgusted with Nextdoor. I've just gone off of it completely.
I find myself checking on it much less frequently, and I can tell they don't have my best interests in mind.
Yeah. So I totally agree with that. And but anyway, it occurred to me like, duh, that's a perfect place to post those FAQs for the community, to get it out to people.
Okay.
To look there, but that's my 2 cents. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Ready to.
Jim, thank you for being part of the meeting here. And David, you stayed till the bitter end. Thank you for being part of it too. We're all finding our way forward together here.
I was going to give a plug to my new internet. It's online. It works beautifully, but apparently it had a glitch.
So who'd you get internet from?
Orcus Online. You can only get this on the west side of the island. It's extremely fast. It's not expensive. People are nice.
I hadn't even heard of it. So thank you for that. But, nothing's perfect. So, Mary, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Good night.
Here. Good night.